Creating ideas, connecting people, building brands. Isn't that what it's all about? Richmond Corporate Video.
With that, I'm going to turn it over to Stan Moffman, who really does all the work on this, one of the world's great people. So Stan, please come out and take it from here. By the way, have you all seen The Star is Born, the movie? I just had my Star is Born moment. You know, you're backstage, this is what it's like, and you get to walk out here. Here's our star.
I felt the same way. That's the first time I've ever come in from stage right. Now today's presentation. Over the years, Gary suggested a bunch of people for Encorepreneur. Most of them were business people, and I knew them or knew of them, and so forth. And not surprisingly, they were pretty good, solid business programs. And so I was a little surprised when he called me not too long ago and said he had another idea. He said, I saw this TV show, and there was a woman from Ashland on it. And thought we might find her and see if she'd like to speak. And I was a little surprised when the name of the show was Naked and Afraid. But fortunately, I was a big fan of the show, so and so it took a little bit of Googling and looking at some other databases, but I found her and met with her, talked to her, and found out what a great person she really was for Encorepreneur, not just because of the TV show, but because of what she's done. And to Gary's point about getting outside the box, how many people here have spent 21 days in the wilderness without any food or water or clothes? Nobody, okay. How many have knocked down a wasp's nest to get the larva to eat, to get protein? Nobody? How many have killed a toad, a snake, and a stingray in the same week for food? Gosh, you guys don't do much, do you? But what Suzanne's really known for is that what I believe she should be known for Encorepreneur is her background. She left home, dropped out of school when she was 16 to survive a tough home situation. But since then, she got a little busy. She's earned a college degree, an MBA, and finally, or perhaps not finally, a doctorate in health sciences, and she works down at the biotech park now. And along the way, she's raised 4 young men. 3 are in the back, if they would stand and say hi. The 4th one's in college. Camden, Griffin, and Bronson, so say hi to them when you leave. And finally, as if what she's done already isn't enough, I found out she's now competing in ultra marathons with her son. So our speaker today is from season 9, episode 10, Pick Your Poison, of Naked and Afraid, Suzanne Zeta.
Can I take? Oh, I guess I'll stand here. So, good morning. Thank you for coming out, and I'm going to do a bit of a blend, giving you some of my background and then tying it into the show and really the takeaway points. But I want to put it in your mind that I actually think most people here would enjoy being naked and afraid. So you might disagree with me on that, but I think you'll understand what I mean here in a little bit. So, okay, so yeah, this is how it started. Wallace from Arkansas, my biological father, and my mother, Ingeborg, from Austria. So right there, right off the bat, you can see that I really am more of a mutt, basically, because The same year that my dad was literally on a hill in Arkansas using an outhouse and went to a school that was a one-room schoolhouse for like all the grades, hitch a wagon once a week to go down to get the mail and milk, was the same year my mother was in finishing school and spoke 4 languages there in Vienna in the height of culture. So it's an interesting relationship that happened because, if I can make it work, that would be great. Booze, basically, that's what happened. So they got together, and shortly after they got together, as in a couple of months after they got together, they got married, and not too terribly long after that, I was born. And they chose to live in Missouri, but not just Missouri, they chose to live in rural Missouri, like really, really far away, white trash, rural Missouri, okay? And so me, what happened is I had alcoholic parents, and I don't know if anybody else in the room has had that, or if anybody had the opportunity or the need to read that book, Adult Children of Alcoholics. It's different than other drug households because there's not rhyme or reason. It's very unpredictable. I could come home from school and everything's fine, or I could come home from school and be in significant amount of trouble because I didn't do the laundry, which obviously I was at school. So there was not a rhyme or reason. It didn't matter what my grades were. It didn't matter what my behavior was. It may or may not have a negative outcome. So that leads to, well, and it didn't help that I was in a very rural part of Missouri, and it was so isolated that my ride on the bus was about 45 minutes to get to the grade school, and there was really not anything in between. But when you got to where I was, it was a little pocket of a community, but it was white trash, which is different than redneck. I'll let you Google that on your own. And minimalist is probably the best way for me to describe it, as in there's no reason to do any better than what you're doing. You know, that led to me being a high school dropout because it was a volatile setting, and I didn't want it. Somewhere intuitively in my head, I knew that I did not want that kind of life. And the cultures are different. And this isn't like I'm talking, I mean, obviously I'm not that old. I'm not talking about back in the 30s or 40s, but when I was 14, I had friends that were encouraging me to get pregnant because then I could get money from the government. You know, so and my thought was, I don't know if I want to be a mom yet. You know, I mean, it wasn't outside, I mean, I wasn't alarmed by that suggestion because it's kind of what you did. So I moved out and I started my life on a minimum wage and food stamps. And I made myself keep $6, and that was back when they gave you the actual food stamp and it had your name on it, because I knew that in the future I did not want to rewrite my past, and I wanted to remember, I wanted to like objective information and remind myself. But I knew that I didn't want to raise my kids like that. I wanted a better life for them. So fast forwarding, so I can get to the good stuff here. I became an occupational therapist and worked in the rural areas and continued to engage with a lot of interesting cultures in those areas. And I ended up getting my MBA in healthcare management in order to force a move. And that happened because my oldest boy, Justin, who's in college now, at the time was in 2nd grade and wanted to be an astronaut. So I wrote to NASA to see what he needed to do. And one of the things is, by high school graduate, you need to be fluent in Russian. And I was like, I can't even give you that resource. I live in a town that the Walmart closes at 8:30 and there is no stoplight. Like, so I'm not being a good mom. I'm not doing what I need to do. So I made a mental goal for myself that he would not start 5th grade there. So I was working full time as a therapist. And I had a dance studio and taught dance Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings, and Saturday all day, and did my online MBA back before that was a thing to do, in order to force a move because I knew my, at that time, husband would not move from that little area unless, and I was like, well, that would be a good reason, and ended up in Ashland. And that was knowing that I could have moved anywhere, but that was the right spot in the right place, and I'm very happy for that decision. That was a perfect choice. And became a regional manager over multiple therapy sites for a senior housing organization. And then I got my PhD in health-related sciences and did most of my OT career. First part was working with older adults and keeping them independent in their homes, but the second chunk was in oncology. So anywhere from point of diagnosis through end of life. And so my research was cognition and the study of metastatic brain tumors. But besides that, now I'm the Vice President of Operations for Virginia Catalyst, which is the Virginia General Assembly created this not-for-profit in order to have our research universities and industry and life sciences working together to help move Virginia forward and put us on the map. And one of the other things I do is bring clinical trials to our universities. So like from Pfizer or AstraZeneca or Eli Lilly, any of these places, we're working with those clinical research organizations to bring them to our investigators, because we have a lot of talent, a lot of brainiacs in our universities. And I office there at biotech. And besides that, I'm gonna turn so I can see which ones. Okay, so do Spartans, but I do them with my boys. There's Justin and Griffin there, and we just did another super and sprint, and did the dance, had the dance studio. I do like guns. I remember I grew up in Missouri. I can go from white trash to debutante, remember? I got both, I got the whole spectrum, and it's fun to play on all of them. And I do like out in the woods, hiking, zip lines, all that. Scuba diving is quite fun, and I took that picture because I was diving with shark, so that was cool. I touched it too. You're not supposed, I couldn't help it. Touch them. They are not slimy. They're actually kind of scaly, rough, which was interesting. And I do like downhill snow skiing, of course, and I'm a mom. That's my best role. So with that, people want to know, how did I end up on Naked and Afraid? And actually, it's my boy's fault. And the reason is we spend, and really it's those three back there, their fault, because we spend a lot of time watching different shows, all Twilight Zone or Rick and Morty, like a wide variety. I'm definitely a different kind of parent. And they happened upon Survivor, and because I drag them outside and do stuff all the time, they went down the road of, you should apply to be on Survivor. And I was like, well, I don't know that I want to be known as the best manipulator to try, so I think you mean this show. And I showed them the Naked and Afraid. And of course, the first few episodes, being boys, they're like, she's pretty, but after 3 or 4 or so, they went back to he just called her a princess, and she is kind of lazy, and they got into the social dynamics and understood more of what was going on, and then they went back to you should apply, and kind of kept bugging me, and I was at the point where I was waiting for one of my IRBs to go through, so I was like, fine, I'll apply, and then the rest was history on that. And Griffin will appreciate this story because he hates me telling it all the time, but during the interviewing long process to get on the show, there was a point where I was being sent to LA for 3 days to do more like a physical and on-camera interview and psychiatric eval and everything. And we were sitting in the same area, and I'm like, aren't you excited? And Griffin said, oh, you're going to be gone for 3 days. And then Camden said, dude, if she makes it on the show, she's gone for a month. And then Griffin was like, he was just like, that part didn't click. You can do that. That means you're not here. So that was an interesting dynamic there.
One man, one woman, alone for 21 days to face the wrath and fury of the most hostile environments on Earth. They have no clothes, no food, no water. Do they have the skill and the will to overcome the most brutal survival challenge of their lives? Naked and Afraid.
This is not camping in Yellowstone.
That was my partner, by the way, who said that. So, okay, good.
Deep in northeastern Brazil, the clear blue Sonino River cuts through a harsh terrain of steep cliffs and scorching sand. And its shoreline is home to the region's most vicious wildlife. Hiding along the riverbank is the 400-pound jaguar and one of the world's deadliest vipers, the fer de lance. Its venom can kill a man in a matter of hours. In the trees are swarms of wasps that sting their victims repeatedly and can send them into anaphylactic shock. But the extreme temperatures are one of the greatest threats out here. Due to the desert climate, they can soar above 100 degrees during the day and plummet into the low 50s at night.
Okay, so that's where I was. But it's really beautiful, and I'll let you know that. So, and for the sake of time, let me see if I can. Okay, so my top 3 things that were reinforced for me. I started to use the word learned, but it wasn't really learned. It was really reinforced by being on this show. The first one is that, and I'll say these to me, but I'm assuming these apply to many others as well. Have to have a balance between being self-reliant and relying on others. So the next clip is examples of, at the beginning, you can tell, like, I'm trying to do my best to allow my partner, Anthony, to feel very important to do what he needs to do, and I'm trying to keep myself in check and not, like, just take over.
And I have the map.
Perfect.
And what do you say we head onto that small island?
And then just take it from there.
My goal is out to that furthest edge that we can walk.
Yep.
Once the current starts to pull us, so we go past chest level, we'll jump in, look for areas.
Yep. Don't forget there's anaconda in here.
This is really protected, completely in the shade.
Did you check this tree for bees?
Nope.
That might be a bee nest. You see a big one over there? Ow, ow, ow.
Wasp?
Ow. I don't know that we should have our shelter there.
Oh, you got it going. Awesome. Susanna!
Anthony!
Get over here! I think it's a fer de lance.
Anthony, they have a long strike.
Down.
1, 2, 3. Oh my God, do not let go of him. Do not let him up. Oh yeah, it's off. I would like to make some fish traps and worry about food.
My plan is shelter absolutely first.
In order to prioritize tasks, both team members need to be on the same page. And currently, we're not.
This flat clearing takes us off the beach. It's shaded, so we're not baking. I can use the trees. If I clear all this, it's a whole lot of open space.
Okay. I actually prefer where we were. I feel like there's going to be more bug problem here than all these bugs that are around us right now.
Susanna, she's headstrong. I knew she wasn't going to be a fan of this place. It is the smarter option. We've got to get a lot of firewood. This is a heap of firewood, so this is a couple of nights' fire. If I can get through this son of a bitch.
Are you pretty dead set on getting that one?
I can't stress how important firewood is going to be.
Okay, well, I'll gather some of the fallen logs.
Okay. So far through this thing, it's just not giving any slack.
I think now it's Anthony versus dead tree.
Oh, it sucks to cut. I'm starting to get tired. I'm frying myself. Hey. Oh, that's heavy.
You're back. Yay.
We need to move double time and drag a very heavy log back.
Okay.
Yeah, the heavier piece is going back now, but it's heavy. It's a fireman's carry.
All right, I'm gonna try. All right. Okay, hang on a minute. Ready? Yeah, that's not gonna happen. That is not gonna happen. It's too heavy for me. I know you want this log really bad. I'm not strong enough to do that. Anthony.
Okay, so I tried, but just like when you're working with somebody and you want them to make decisions, you also know that you can't allow those bad decisions to impact you. So I have to, personally, I'm still working on that ability to be trusting and be open and, start with that, but at the same time, make sure that I have the ability to be self-reliant, because the next one, which I'll let you start.
Leaving his partner to survive the next 17 days alone.
No, it's just like when I was a little girl. I have to rely upon myself if I'm going to make it.
It's too dark for me to see, and I keep hearing noises. And I know that it's not that far from me, and I don't know what it is. I just heard a noise behind my shelter.
But it freaks me out each time it happens.
I certainly felt alone last night, and it was scary too. Now I don't have a partner. I'm the only one out here, and food is my top priority, in particular protein. If I want to eat, I have to figure it out myself.
You want to be able to trust others, but at the same time, you have to be able to take care of yourself, because you never know when you might have to. The next main theme is to know the game you're playing. And by the game, it means whatever you're doing. And I teach my boys this. I look at life as a lot of sets of games. When you're a student in school, that's your game. And you need to know the rules. And the rules kind of vary. There's different teachers, they have different rules. But the game is, like the goal of that game is to get A's. Because if you get A's, then you can play the next game, which is more education. But if you play that game well, then you get to have a career. But then when you're in that job, that has different rules. As a citizen in our country, we have these things called taxes. You should know the game, you should know the rules. If you understand your deductions, it's better for you. If you don't, you can get in trouble. So no matter what you're doing in life, you need to know what those rules are, which ones are the red rules, don't break them, which ones are like, like the stop signs that really are important stop signs, and the others that probably should have been a yield. But if there's a policeman by you and you go through it, then you're going to get points on your license, and then that messes up another part of your game. And I'm sure a lot of this mentality, I guess you could almost call it street smarts, but what I'm telling you to do is apply it to your everyday life, because a lot of those concepts are things that I was born and raised with. And it was my culture, but it was me interacting with my culture. So back I totally, on minimum wage and food stamps, I know how to play the bank game. I knew if I needed money that I could, at that time, write a check, deposit it in my own account, go over here to Walmart, buy this. I know what to buy, what to return. That's because that's the culture I lived in, and that was the game, and I needed to feed the kids. So you gotta learn those rules, know the game. In this particular situation, I needed to know the game. I need to understand as much as possible about the environment and survival, and so this is just me applying some rules to this one particular 21-day game, which included, I did research about what my body would go through, so I understood starving and just a lot of variety of things. So
I'm very confident that I'll be able to survive 21 days, because it's just 21 days, it's just bugs, and I'm smarter than all of that. Because it's so pristine, and I know there's no humans around, there's no big livestock around, and it's running through all these rocks. I'm not worried about it. And it's really hot, but this is a cool spot. I make a fish basket and then a cap that goes in it. Are you pretty dead set on getting that one?
I can't stress how important firewood is going to be.
Okay, well, I'll gather some of the fallen logs.
Okay. Back.
Okay, hang on a minute. Ready? Yeah, that's not gonna happen. That is not gonna happen. And the sunburn, and I think the sunburn is making him feel even more cold at night. Know that we're sweating out and losing a lot of our fluid. You okay?
My heart beats completely irregular now. I'm gonna pass out.
Lay down. Here, lay down. Wow. So I need you to not move, okay? Megan? Anthony's having an irregular heartbeat and he's not talking very much now. I see protein. There's wasp nest with, of course, wasp on it. Gotta get the larvae. This morning, I finished my fish basket. So I made a fishing net smelling pretty ripe. Not a good sign. I'm not gonna be able to eat this fish, which is a crying shame. Yeah, I know I haven't had the nourishment that I need. And I purposely studied about starvation so that I could understand what my body would go through. It's not the same as feeling it. This is a poisonous toad. I could have been really, really ill because I killed something that I wanted for protein. I hope that's not a rock. You know what? I think that's a stingray. That could be dinner. I gotta get that. Oh, I hope I got it. Oh my God, I think I got it.
Suzanne will have to endure a 5-mile journey barefoot over 130-degree sand to reach a dirt road next to this giant Table Mountain.
My heels are burning just sitting here. So I just use this right there. Just a little bit of padding. Just a little bit, just enough to get me through. Come on.
Suzanne survived 21 days in Brazil's Sonino River Valley, 17 of them on her own. She lost a total of 23 pounds and battled unforgiving temperatures, life-threatening situations, and starvation.
I probably look like a walking skeleton.
But her resolve paid off, and she succeeded in catching food.
And it's got a stingray.
By completing the challenge, her PSR rises from 6.7 to 7.7, proving that a sharp mind and tenacity can be the ultimate survival tools to make it naked and afraid.
Yeah, so, So that was an example of knowing the game. You know, I know what the sun can do. I know the importance of water. I knew what was going to happen to my body. I knew not to lift the log and get myself hurt just because my partner wanted me to do it. You know, I knew to be safe when I was trying to get sources of protein. You know, so that was knowing that game. And it's the concept is no different when you switch jobs and you need to know the game. You need to know which boss wants what, and you know, that's it. Just know the game. And there might be more on there somewhere. Okay, and this is a big one for me that I didn't even realize. You have to celebrate your successes. I didn't realize this till I was on like day 18 or something. It somehow hit me that every time I've done something in my life, I haven't celebrated it. I've been more like, okay, what now? And that comes from my childhood where, you know, we didn't celebrate birthdays. It didn't matter what my grades were. You know, nothing was ever acknowledged, nothing at all. And even when I was getting my PhD, and I knew it, and I was excited, you know, there at when we were graduating from VCU, and I remember coming up and I'm like, yes, and I know, high school dropout, I have a GED, and I'm getting my PhD, But when I got up there and President Rao was there and I did the selfie with him and I looked and I see all these other people with their PhD, I'm like, that's a PhD. And so I am very dismissive. I've always been very dismissive of everything that I've done. It's kind of like, it's fine. And I knew, and the producers asked me about it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure that it'll be, it's 21 days, anybody can do it. And I realized that that is just part of my culture and my upbringing, but it's not healthy. You've got to be able to take time to celebrate along the way and appreciate what you've done, and then also not turn around and try to use hindsight and say, oh, I was dumb, I didn't do this better, I should have done that better. So hopefully I have not passed that on to my boys. I hope that I've been able to teach them to celebrate the little successes, not the participation trophy. I'm not talking about that. I'm like, no, not that. I'm like the actual things that you've worked for and you've earned. So this next one's just little clips of me relaxing more and celebrating successes.
Oh, there's celebration. I have a wasp nest and no stings. That was epic. There's a fish in here. How awesome is that? Yay! Oh, I'm so excited I could cry.
It's right in my life.
Yeah! I hope that's not a rock. You know what? I think that's a stingray. I can do this. Oh, I hope I got it. Oh my God, I think I got it. I'm so excited. Oh my God. Oh my God. I did it. Oh. Ow, 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 ow. Yes. Oh my God. Oh my God. I am so happy and so proud of myself.
So, yay. So I was able to celebrate. Get it. There we go. Okay. So this is how I know that you guys want to be naked and afraid. Okay? Because I bet you didn't know that you wanted to. It's actually pretty straightforward. Because you're here. Okay? That's how I know. No, really, actually, it's because anytime, let me back it up. Being an entrepreneur, what does it mean? This means people that are willing to work for what they want, and they're creative, and they're going out there and willing to take risks. The problem is when you keep doing the same thing all the time, it's no longer a risk. So it's kind of ironic. You can't really be a serial entrepreneur because after you've done it a couple of times, it's no longer new for you. It's like if you always do push-ups, that's no longer a challenge. So if you truly are being an entrepreneur, then you would truly put yourself out there and do a different kind of risk for you. Not risk by society standards, but a risk for you. And then the encore, of course, means again and again. You would keep doing that. You would put yourself out there, try a risk, challenge yourself, celebrate your success, and then try something different. And whenever you do something new, you actually are naked. You really are. You're intellectually and emotionally naked. You're going into a spot that's new for you, but there's people that know how to do it, and they've been doing it forever. So that can really make you feel naked because you don't know the game. You don't know those rules well. And that can be very scary for people. They're afraid. And you get afraid of, afraid of failure, afraid of being embarrassed, not being as good as the other person because you wanted to be good right up front, and actually of succeeding. There's fears of that too. So anytime you're out there doing something new, you are naked, and it does lead to you being afraid. So the main takeaway message from you guys this morning from me is don't be afraid to get out there and do things. but find that balance between trusting others and relying on yourself. Because when you're going out there and doing something new, you're relying on the other people to kind of teach you the ropes. You know, you get a new job, or you start some new career, or you start some new leisure, or whatever you're doing. Usually your first set of input is a peer that's kind of telling you the ropes, but then you gotta trust them. But what if they're not really that bright? You know, what if my survival coach was Anthony? Okay, so you have to put your own common sense in there, but you got to find that balance between relying on yourself, doing your own research, and then listening and taking from other people. And then if you know the rules, you're more likely to understand whether or not you can rely on that person. You know, I knew the rules of survival and stuff, and I could see that he kept not making good decisions. Well, I'm gonna not point it out to him. You know, it's just me and him out there, and there's a machete, and he is bigger. So I'm not going to point it out to him, but I'm also not going to let that take me down. And then remember your successes. But most of all, you guys should get out there and really embrace that opportunity to be naked and afraid in your own life, however it is. You know, whatever new thing that you're looking at doing, anything that was in your head that you're like, oh, I want to do it. Just think of it this way. When you reach 100, 110 years old, are you going to be upset that you didn't take that challenge, that you didn't do it? You know, don't get to that age and be like, oh, you know, I really wish I would have tried painting, or I wish I would have went ahead and learned how to play the piano, or start that nonprofit I wanted. So that's my main message for you guys.